It is about ready to get loud in here. We're at the bridge. We're in the same building with KCPT and the Hale Center for Journalism, and every once in a while, I think it's really healthy for us to be a disruptive influence, and I think that is probably going to happen here today. It's going to be loud with the Yawpers. You can find out more about them at theyawpers.com. The new CD that's coming out, American Man, October 30th. It's their first release on Bloodshot. Thanks for coming in, guys.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
And of course, the big gig is tomorrow night. It's the after party for TEDx KC. So
I think we're actually playing. Oh, is it the after party, or are we actually doing the thing?
No,
I think are you doing both?
we were going to play the after party, but that
Now we're actually doing the actual talk.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It would be good for the guy doing the interview to know that.
Yeah.
Thought we'd hash that out on air.
Yeah, we're pretty excited to kind of get packed in with a bunch of erudites and just tear
Well,
some, maybe
see,
huff some
but
gasoline.
isn't that really the Yawpers story? Aren't you really the erudites in sheep's clothing? I mean, you put on the wolf thing, but underneath that thing, I mean, you guys are a literate band. You may be loud, you may get sweaty, but there's like stuff going on here.
I wish I could blush for you through the radio. That's very sweet of you to say. But we're faux intellectuals playing rock and roll.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's good with me. You know, when we first started talking about having you in, I have to admit I wasn't terribly familiar with the music.
You had never heard us.
But I don't think I had. But the name was so familiar, and I started, when I was doing research, I started tracking down all the threads where I should have known you already. You've played a lot in Kansas City. You played Knuckleheads, you played Riot Room, you played The Well. You also sort of, even though it's sort of a Kansas City thing, you sort of popped into the Mid-Coast Takeover down in Austin, Texas. So,
Yep. Yeah, we've done that 2 or 3 years running now.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, just move here. It'd be so much easier for you.
Well, you guys it's kind of home away from home. It's the first stop every time we leave Denver heading east, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that was so much fun about discovering the history of your band is that, Nate, you and Jesse, were actually in bands previous to this, Ego versus Id, and then when that one kind of fell apart for a while, you were doing like a folky duo thing with no drums.
Yeah, it was pretty lame.
So, well, like when you listen to the Yawpers, and I think that, this is probably a story I should have held until after people had heard the music. So between that and not knowing that you're actually doing the TEDx thing, I'm doing one hell of a job here. But, to imagine you two as a folky duo, I'd kind of like to go back in time and hear that just to see that arc of change and growth.
Yeah.
We still have the acoustic guitars.
We do. We still occasionally hold hands on stage, which is a throwback.
But isn't that also part of the interesting thing where it's like you guys are playing acoustic guitars, but you play them loud?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't start as a shtick, but I guess it's kind of turned into one. We just we don't have a bass player, so the acoustic guitars kind of allow us to get a little more depth with just the 2 guitars. So. But we turn them up pretty loud.
So really, the Yawpers, in a way, were born with the addition of drums.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair assessment.
So that was around 2011?
Yeah, I think our first real show was in July of 2011. Yeah.
So Nate, you do the lyrics, but then you and Jesse are the ones that sort of work out the music. But all the music's kind of. It's really a band thing by the time you get into the studio.
I think it's a pretty collaborative effort.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and the drums have certainly gotten more and more involved.
We're trying to keep him around, so we got to throw him a bone right now.
This is like a band that, actually we were talking about this while you guys were doing the sound check. It really made me wish that I had a cold beverage in my hand.
And maybe a little white powder. Maybe your finest huffing rag. Yeah.
Well, now this is a non-commercial.
We're turning this back to
so.
1976 REO Speedwagon.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, I do. You don't. You're too young, but I do. I sure do. I think the earlier days of the band might have been a little bit boozier and a little bit more like that. And you guys have had a little bit of a transition now to where the music that you're putting out is so deliberate and so thought out.
Yeah,
Is that fair?
That was a conscious decision. Yeah, we did kind of want to move away from just being a party band. Nobody wants to be in I hope I can say cock rock on the radio. I think that's just a genre. So yeah, nobody wants to just do that and play for drunk frat guys all the time. So yeah, we tried to make a transition into what we actually like.
So you still have that sort of feel, that sense of urgency and grittiness to a lot of the stuff that you do, but you have spent hours crafting that.
Yeah. And we did start to take nods from people that influence us more in the genre, more narrative approaches like Nick Cave and cats like that who play really violent punk rock and roll, but with a tinge of intention. Yeah.
Sounds great. We'd love to hear some music if we could.
Sure.
You can't love, she don't stay. A woman like that, there's a price to pay. Give you a lie, she can take it away. You can't love, she don't stay. She walks in, you make room. You're never really ready, but it's what you gotta do. I'll be over before too soon. She walks in you make room. No silver-tongued man can inherit the earth. I bet it and no. So put another. Oh, come on, baby, tell me like, love you more, but I'm doing it right. Every man needs something to be, and if he does it blindly, he's nothing to see, man. The meanest, hardest struggle is doing it right. Come on, lady, I'm doing it right. Yeah, you've been spending all your time just pissing your luck out. You're gonna lose a brother and you're just quite enough. Strip to the bottom, put away our fuck all night. Another beat, another night, every morning, the beat, another movie. Come on, mama, tell me like, love you, baby, love you, doing it right. Yeah, every man needs something to be, and if he does it blindly, he's nothing to see, man. He is hardest striker, doing it right. Let me tell you something, man, it's not out there. There's no fires left burning, absence of air, suffer in the world, no one to care. Let me tell you something, man, it's not out there. If you never wake up, then it isn't a dream. This ain't a diamond and it isn't a crease. So give me all my baby, tell me like, love you, mama, but I'm doing it right. Every man needs something to be, and if he does it blindly, he's nothing to see, man. Come on, baby, 7. Doing it right.
I absolutely love that song. And, you know, I did really start off by doing a couple of really terrible things in this interview, but I did know about the false ending on that song. So,
That would have been awesome.
yeah.
Well, anyway, Paul!
Yeah, it would have completed my day. Absolutely. We've got the Yawpers in the studio live today. You can find out more at theyawpers.com. The song that you just heard is called Doing It Right, and it is the first track on the new album called American Man, which is coming out on October 30th. It's their first release on Bloodshot, and I can only imagine how excited you guys are about the release of this record.
Yeah, we are very excited. Yeah.
And you actually did this before you were associated with Bloodshot. You put this one together, or is this correct? Shopped it around a little bit and then got the deal?
Yep.
You did it in a studio, which I think is read in more than one place as the legendary blasting room.
Yep.
What makes it legendary?
Well, it's owned by Bill Stevenson, who is the titular drummer from the, I think, probably the late 70s punk era with the Descendants and those sort of cats. So, and they happen to be one of the only tape-capable studios in Colorado, so we were able to record it analog, which is how we wanted to do it, and it's just a great setting for a kind of aggressive Americana band to go into a punk studio and make a record.
So you just called yourself an aggressive Americana band.
I've been working on that one all day.
Yeah, I was going to say, how long did that take?
Yeah, I don't know. I figured somebody was going to ask me today, so I better have a new answer.
You know, the question that I was going to ask wasn't what you guys are. I was going to ask you, what's the most offensive thing that you've been called? Because I was laughing at all of the... More than one place I saw you compared to Wilco.
Yeah.
And I just don't... Like, I don't hear that.
Definitely not Nils Klein era Wilco, that's for sure. I don't know. Yeah, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
That is an unfair comparison.
But I don't know what I would say. And I think it's really maybe one of the least important things is to try and define somebody and put them in a little box someplace.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's part of the business. But you know, yeah, we do our best not to subscribe to it when we can.
You know, another phrase that that you've used to describe the band is that you have a trashy aesthetic.
Yeah, I think that's just by virtue of being a fat, thinly mustached man about to turn 30 years old. But we definitely try and make music for people who feel disenfranchised by I guess the erudites or whatever you want to call them, but still have an affinity for wanting something a little bit more substantial than just banging their head against a wall. They want to do it while they're hearing something worth listening to.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of give yourself away calling yourself the Yawpers, seeing as that's a line from a Walt Whitman.
Yeah, but anybody who hasn't read Walt Whitman would think we were just doing some sort of like bastardization of Yawp, you know, like.
Yeah.
So that was also kind of an intentional choice.
You know, one of the things that I also thought, as I continue to out you for your literary inclinations, that you like to read depressing philosophers when you're trying to write lyrics.
I don't find them all that depressing, to be honest with you, but yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was specifically with the last record. The new record's got some. I kind of moved out of that into more experimental fiction, but yeah, I was reading a lot of Sartre and some of the more philosophically slanted stuff from Camus and all that jazz. But
So I'm going to paraphrase, you know, what you were saying about that at the time, and you can tell me if I've got this wrong. But reading those guys almost kind of gave you weighty backup in that, you know, you're actually trying to say something meaningful about a shared experience as opposed to just being whiny.
yeah, well, and actually, I think it actually has less to do with the music and just how I feel as a person. You know, when it's hard to roll out of bed in the morning, when the greatest minds have already kind of unpacked it for you and given you some excuse for feeling like such a scumbag, it's helpful.
So back to the studio. What was it like recording this? What was it? Because the first record that you did you do that one at home?
The first record we did not do at home. We did it at a kind of.
Oh, actually, one of the tracks was done, at home.
Which one?
Hard on a String.
Oh, that was the first EP. I think he's talking about Capon.
I'm just talking about whatever you guys want to talk about.
We released an EP before we released our first record.
Right.
And that was pretty much done at home. But the second record we did at a studio, and it was just kind of a, just a studio, and we weren't really that great of a band yet, and
Exactly,
we didn't
yeah,
have
we-
the songs together all that well, and so it was, people liked it, so that was good, but, in our opinion, kind of a mediocre effort.
Well, I have to say this record is really great, and it has a lot of different flavors to it. You're not a one-note band. There are a lot of different sounds, a lot of different attitudes and takes on here. So
You're a great interviewer.
really, yeah. Well, let's just keep complimenting each other. If it works for you, it works for me.
Perfect.
I think that everybody would probably like the compliments to stop and the music to start again. If you'd got another song,
Except
you
for
would love
me.
to hear
but
it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
give the people what they want.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
You set out of your nightmare and promised everyone there was no round trip ticket, there was no coming home. You went to the congregation, convinced no one of your worry. You walked across the nation, still found no place on earth. Said, freedom of a 9-to-5 man, the freedom of a 9-to-5 man. Freedom of a 9-to-5 man. Come on, come on, come on. I promise to see it. That freedom of a 9-to-5. That freedom of a 9-to-5. That freedom of a 9-to-5 man. Come on, come on, come on, breathe. You told it to your mother, you told it to your pa. Ain't no one gonna come and save you when you're strung out in Wichita. Well, you've been so many places, you haven't done a thing. Some judgment on the chorus, what fun do you pay to lean? Freedom of a 9-to-5 man, freedom of a 9-to-5 man. Freedom of a 9-to-5. Come on, come on, come on, I'm taking it in. That freedom of a 9-to-5. That freedom of a 9-to-5. That freedom of a 9-to-5. take the freedom of a 9 to 5. 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 Take the freedom of a 9 to 5, man. Take the freedom of a 9 to 5, man. Take the freedom of a 9 to 5, man. Take the freedom of a 9 to 5, man. Take the freedom of a 9 to 5, man. Take the freedom of a 9 to 5, man. Take the freedom of a 9 to 5, man. Take the freedom of a 9 to 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 9. Take the freedom of my prayer. Take the freedom of my prayer. Take the freedom of a 9 to 9 to 9 to 9 to 9.
That was a lot of fun.
Good.
That was a lot of fun. The Yawpers in our studios before they play TEDxKC tomorrow night. It's already sold out. The new album is called American Man. It is at October 30th on Bloodshot. That last track, 9 to 5, is one of the songs on the new album. You know, I believe that the Yawpers, to my recollection, are the first in studio I've ever done that invoked the name REO Speedwagon. So congratulations, guys, on that.
First.
Yeah, but you know, the funny thing is, when I was listening to this record, and this could be just complete garbage, right? Because it's in the ears of the person who's listening, and maybe not the intent of the band. But I really did feel when I listened to that, you know, not really any REO Speedwagon influence, but it took me back to some 70s. Is that anything close to what you guys were thinking?
Sure. I mean, we love music.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if consciously or anything, but yeah, it's definitely in there.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was one of the standout tracks for me. You know, I was gonna sort of ask you about this moment in time, because you guys have the new record coming out on October 30th, and you have to have a sense that this is really a good record, and you're on a label that's going to get you more attention. And so you don't really know where this is going to go, but you know that it's going to be better than where you've been.
yeah.
And you know that there's more success coming, but the money probably isn't here yet, right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, it's a little bit of a waiting game. And
Yeah, I think we all plan for the gutter and hope for the Playboy Mansion, but it's going to be what it is. I don't know.
Yeah, the thing that I think is maybe hopefully in studio sessions like this help bring it home for people, but when you choose this career, it's sort of like you're sort of signing up for like the most ridiculous career path, because I've read interviews where you just came right out and said that, you know, music has to be above girls and food.
Yeah, well, my wife just left me for an Elvis impersonator, if that tells you anything.
Yeah.
That's a true story.
And we were talking about this, and I just want to share this. And I don't want to really, you know, dude, I'm so sorry. You know, and I don't need, but you know, we do need to know which Elvis.
Yeah, so I think probably Army or Elvis. So
Yeah.
I feel a little better if it was Fat Elvis. I think she went through Fat Elvis with me and then upgraded. She got that out of her system real quick.
Yeah. Someday she'll regret this. But you know, it's sort of almost like, you know, when you go into a band, you almost need to upset Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
You know, and kind of make things a little bit crazy, because
Well, I think part of it too is that the thing you were never supposed to think about is what happens if it doesn't work out, because that doesn't end well at all.
Right.
So a lot of that requires such intense focus just to keep it out of your mind, that other things fall by the wayside by virtue of that just requiring so much focus.
Right, and there's also sort of there's also sort of an ironic thing involved in getting up on stage and playing music with such abandon, as if nothing matters, that you almost are, thrashing around like you don't care about anything, but really it's the exact opposite. You care about it more than anybody could possibly
Well, we care about it
imagine.
because you don't have to. That's the freedom of getting to do this, is that you don't have to really care. You obviously have to learn your instrument and become proficient, and you have to work at the songs, but the actual performance itself is that's the goal. That's the gift of being able to do it, is that's when you don't have to really worry about anything.
So you're a Colorado band, but you had a little bit of a struggle getting a toehold up around Boulder.
Yeah.
And I think that says more about Boulder than it says about you.
I think it says a little bit about both. That is a dubstep and fish cover band market, and as much as we draw from those influences, for whatever reason, they just didn't catch on. But no, Boulder, I lived there for 9 years, and it was about 8.5 years too long. And happy to be out of there. And yeah.
I read a thing where you sort of put it was almost like an open letter to the music community saying that what was needed was less comfort, and that
You were well researched. You're pulling up stuff I didn't even understand.
Yeah. Well, I try. Should have gotten the TEDx thing right. I mean, come on. Let's, you got to. I'm trying to bat 500 here.
Yeah.
But putting out a call for constructive criticism and not letting it just be this comfortable, nice little music scene, because who grows through that? So that was a really interesting take. But the other part of it that I thought was really interesting was that you said that a really good music scene at some level is exclusionary. Mm-hmm. And I just was wondering if you could expound on that a little.
Well, I think it probably goes partially back to that the need for discomfort is that most, I guess maybe I'm too capitalist red-blooded these days, but to me, competition breeds at least progression. And if everybody's just patting each other on the back, nobody has any need to get any better. And unfortunately, what goes along with that is you have to weed out some of the weak stock, and there's plenty of that in Boulder. So
the thing that I think we should also say out loud, though, is that just because you're calling for exclusion, and just because you're calling for competition, and just because you're calling for constructive criticism, doesn't mean that you're not warm-hearted.
Sure.
Towards the community.
I think it's the
when it
warm-hearted thing to
works.
do to tell somebody when they've gone the wrong path. Like
Yeah.
that's, if anything, you're doing them a favor. People told us how bad our old band sucked, and we took that to heart and we quit. It was a blessing. I mean, honestly, it's what needs. I mean, any artist without an audience that's willing to tell them whether or not it's any good is not really an artist.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, and I think I've already said this in different ways, but, I've spent some time with the new album, which, again, like we are so spoiled. This thing doesn't come out until October 30th, and I've been spending the last couple of days with it. And it's just like track for track, it's a really, really good record. I think you guys are going to have a lot of luck with it and a lot of fun. The Yawpers in our studio, the new one that's out on October 30th, is American Man, and they are playing to a sold-out TEDx crowd tomorrow night. We'd love to hear one more song if we could.
Happy to do it. Thank you.
self-inflicted masochisms that look black. Won't you tie me to your love? You tie me to your living room chair. Won't you tie me to your love? Make sure that I ain't going anywhere. I can take it easy, and I won't think for myself. I can try to get on, but I need a little help. Why you treat me like I am, son of a killer? Well, if I'm powerless and disconnected, you know I can't be blamed. I'm wrapped up in your skins of leather, join the voluntary lane. Won't you tie me to your love? Tie me to your living room chair. And won't you tie me to your love? Make sure I ain't going anywhere. I can't take it easy, yeah, I won't think for myself. I can try to get on, but I need a little help. Why you treat me like I am? I want you to hurt me. I need a love. Oh, baby, what fun I got night. I take, what fun I got night.
You know, I really needed this. Yeah, it's a Friday afternoon. I really needed this. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
That was so much
for having
fun.
us.
The Yawpers in our studio, and if you can find out more about them at theyawpers.com. American Man. All 3 songs that you heard today are on that new album, and it's going to be out October 30th over on Bloodshot. I wish I could tell people to go buy tickets for your show. TEDx already sold out. So.
Bummer.
Yeah, but it's going to be a great night. And thanks for coming in, guys. Thanks
Thank
so
you
much.
again so
Thank
much.
you.
Really.
Hopefully
Thank
we'll
you.
get to see you again before too long. The Yawpers this morning on the bridge.